Hi guys. As you can see, it's snowing here today like crazy. I can only imagine what the poor animals right now on slaughter tracks on their way to the slaughterhouse are experiencing. This weather is just, it's so wet and cold and horrible. I can't imagine being in a truck with no protection on the way to be killed. It's pretty horrible. But I just had to share with you guys, I just went into a t-shirt printing business. And so I'd gotten a big extra large black t-shirt from Value Village because I always wear huge oversized t-shirts in the summer as dresses with cycle shorts or whatever. So I got an extra large Gilden black t-shirt and I just brought it into a printing place and I wanted them to print on it on the back, ask me about Canadian gas chambers. Because people, aren't aware that we gas animals to death, we gas pigs to death here in Canada, we gas chickens to death, and we gas baby chicks to death also on their first 2 days or 72 hours of life. So anyways, then I wanted to get my Instagram handle, Veggie Dog, across the front. Might as well be a walking billboard, right? Like, why else am I here? So I went in and I was like, it was a little bit awkward. I'm like, hey, so can you print one t-shirt? And he's like, yeah. And so I told him that I wanted on the back, ask me about Canadian gas chambers. So he's like, oh, a little startled. And then he's like, oh, well, I'm going to ask about the gas chambers. And yeah, so I went on to explain. It was a good first practice run. And so I went on to explain about the pigs, how we load them into metal chambers and then we lower them into the gas and they kind of just thrash around and die. And what he said was interesting. He's like, well, first of all, he's like, oh my gosh, what are you serious? Are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And then he says, so it's not instant at all. And I was like, no, it takes a few minutes. It's horrible. I've been to the slaughterhouse nearby here and you can actually hear the pigs screaming and he's just going, oh, that's so awful. I went on to tell him about the new Maple Leaf slaughterhouse that they're building in Toronto. So the one that a few of us activists held down in the summertime, that was their old one, and they electric head bathed them and then slit their throats. And I'm trying to explain this without being too aggressive, I guess, but just the words themselves are aggressive and he could feel that. And I told him that the new slaughterhouse they're building, that they're going to be gassing them and it's going to be way more birds in a day. And he's like, oh my goodness. And then I also told him about the baby chicks, how often they're just, if they're males, it's either male or female, they're thrown into the macerator. If they're males, they just get ground alive. And he's like, ground alive? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh my gosh. You could see he was having, he was turning red. He was kind of almost shaky. And then I was telling him about the chicken slaughterhouses, or the slaughterhouse that we go to in Armstrong, Colonial Chicken Slaughterhouse. And I said, I actually don't know how they kill them there. I'm thinking they electric head bathe them to stun them and then slit their throat. And he's like, well, Armstrong, that can't be that big. And I said, well, it's 50,000 birds 5 nights a week. And he's like, 50,000? I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. And these are farm to table birds, they're considered good meat. And I said, you can only imagine the people working here and what they go through, and they're dependent on drugs, they're dependent on alcohol, because how do you go in and day out and do that for a job? It would definitely take a toll on you. So anyways, I just wanted to share with you guys that little encounter I had, just as simple as going to get a t-shirt printed, and we had a big conversation. That guy now knows many things that he had no idea about before, right here in Canada. So anyways, that's basically just outreach at its finest right there, and so easy. I mean, once you know, the more you know, the easier it is to talk to people about it. And it's just very important to spread this information. And I told him, I was like, most people don't know. He's like, well, I didn't know either. And I said, exactly, because they don't want you to know. So anyways, hopefully my t-shirt will be done soon and I can start wearing it around and sparking up more conversations. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And if anybody wants to do a similar thing on a shirt, please go for it. Copy all my shit. Just tell everybody everything. Yeah, do it up, do it up. Thanks guys, have a good day. Stay warm.